November 23, 1942, South Atlantic. The merchant ship SS Ben Lomond was a ghost ship in the making. Traveling alone from Cape Town to Suriname, it was slow, heavy, and unarmed. Below deck, Poon Lim, a modest 24-year-old second steward, was preparing for his shift. He had no idea that a German Predator, U-172, was tracking them through the periscope, calculating the coordinates of their destruction. At 11:30 a.m., the silence was shattered. A torpedo struck the starboard side. The explosion didn't just breach the hull, it broke the ship's spine. The vessel convulsed. Lim scrambled onto the deck. The ship was already tilting at a steep 40-degree angle. He saw the lifeboats, some shattered by the blast, others tangled in their davits, impossible to launch. He made the only choice left. He grabbed a life jacket and jumped into the abyss. As he hit the water, the shock of the cold seized his lungs. The ocean was thick with black oil and debris. He swam frantically away from the ship to avoid the suction. When he turned back to look, the SS Ben Lomond was gone. The sinking had taken less than 2 minutes. Lim was alone in the black pit of the Atlantic, a zone where Allied air cover did not reach. For 2 hours, Lim treaded water, his eyes stinging from salt and oil. He was waiting to die. Then, cresting over a wave, he saw a wooden square. It was a Carly float, a crude 8-foot by 8-foot wooden raft with a slat floor and canvas sides. He hauled himself aboard. This square of wood would become his entire universe for the next 4 months. He took stock of his inventory. In a small, watertight tin, he found several tins of hardtack biscuits, a 10-gallon metal jug of water, some chocolate, sugar cubes, a few flares, and a flashlight. Lim was a disciplined man. He did the math immediately. He estimated rescue could take weeks. He rationed himself to 2 dry biscuits and 6 sips of water per day. But as the weeks turned into a month, the math stopped working. The biscuits ran out. The water jug echoed with emptiness. Starvation changes a man. It makes him desperate, but it also makes him ingenious. Lim realized that to survive, he had to stop being a passenger and start being a hunter. The water problem. The tropical sun was relentless. It baked his skin until it peeled in sheets. When the first storm arrived, Lim didn't hide. He used the canvas cover of the life raft to create a funnel. He used his own body as a dam to channel the rain into his empty water jug. He tasted the sweet, metallic tang of rainwater and knew he had bought himself more time. The food problem. He looked into the water. It was teeming with life. Small fish swam in the shade of his raft. The hook. He disassembled his flashlight. He took the small metal spring from the battery compartment and painstakingly uncoiled it. He used the raft's wood to hammer it into a hook shape. The line. He unraveled the hemp rope from the raft, braiding the fibers to make a fishing line strong enough to hold the struggling fish. The bait. He had no bait, so he pried barnacles off the side of the raft. He used the barnacle meat to catch a small minnow. He used the minnow to catch a mackerel. The butcher's knife. He needed a way to cut the fish. He took one of the empty biscuit tins and rubbed its edge against the rough iron cleats of the raft for days, grinding it down until it was razor sharp. He now had a knife. The physical pain of hunger was agonizing, but the psychological torture was worse. One morning he heard a low rumble. A freighter ship. It was close, so close he could see the crew on the deck. He stood up, waving his shirt, screaming until his throat bled. The ship turned toward him. His heart soared. Then, inexplicably, it turned away and accelerated. Lim collapsed. Historians believe the crew saw a lone Asian man and assumed he was a decoy, a trap set by Japanese submarines to lure Allied ships to a stop so they could be torpedoed. He was a victim of the war's paranoia. Later, a squadron of U.S. Navy patrol planes spotted him. They circled low. A face looked out from the cockpit. They dropped a smoke marker into the water to guide a rescue ship. Lim wept with relief. But nature is cruel. A massive storm front moved in minutes later. The waves rose to 20 feet, hiding the raft in deep valleys of water. By the time the storm cleared, the marker was gone, the planes were gone, and Lim was lost again. He drifted into a state of hallucination. He spoke to the moon. He counted the stars. He forced himself to stay sane by swimming around the raft twice a day just to keep his muscles from atrophying, tethered by a rope so the current wouldn't take his home away. By the third month, the fish had stopped biting. Lim was wasting away. He saw the dorsal fins of sharks circling his raft. They bumped the wood, testing it. Lim decided that he would not be eaten. He would eat. He caught a seabird that had landed on the raft to rest. He killed it and drank its blood to quench his thirst. He saved the intestines. He baited his hook with the bird's guts and threw the line into the water. A shark took the bait. It wasn't a small fish, it was a man-eater, several feet long. The line went taut. The hemp rope burned Lim's hands, cutting into his flesh. He wrapped his hands in canvas cloth and pulled. He entered a primal trance, a tug-of-war between a dying man and a killing machine. He dragged the shark halfway onto the raft. The beast thrashed violently, its jaws snapping inches from Lim's legs. If it bit him, he would bleed out and die. Lim grabbed the heavy metal water jug, half filled with rainwater, and used it as a bludgeon. He struck the shark's head again and again until the eyes glazed over. He sliced the shark open. He drank the blood from its liver. He sliced the fins and dried them in the sun, a delicacy in his homeland. He looked at the endless ocean and roared. He had conquered the food chain. On day 133, April 5, 1943, Lim noticed a change. The water was no longer the deep, terrifying indigo of the deep ocean. It was pale green. It was river water mixing with the sea. He looked up and saw a small boat with a sail. He waved. This time the boat did not turn away. 3 Brazilian fishermen stared in disbelief at the wild-looking man on the wooden square. They pulled alongside him. Lim didn't want to be carried. He wanted to prove he was still a man. He stood up on his swollen ankles and stepped onto their boat. "I have been on that raft for 133 days, he told them in broken English. He had drifted 750 miles from where the ship sank. He was taken to a hospital in Belém, Brazil. Doctors were astounded. He had lost 20 pounds, but his muscles were intact. His mind was sharp. He was suffering from severe sunburn and malnutrition, but he was alive." Poon Lim became a global celebrity. King George VI awarded him the British Empire Medal. The Royal Navy incorporated his techniques into their survival manuals. Years later, when asked about his record-breaking ordeal, Poon Lim offered a humble perspective that silenced reporters. He didn't brag about fighting the shark or surviving the storms. He simply said, "I hope no one will ever have to break that record." He eventually emigrated to the United States, obtained citizenship, and lived a peaceful life until he passed away in 1991. The ocean tried to take him, but Poon Lim refused to go.